Well, in the early 2000s, Steve Gianoutsos went out and bought a coffee roaster he had no idea how to use. He had 6 weeks to learn before his first cafe was due to open. The first Mojo coffee cartel opened in Wellington in 2003. Now, 37 cafes and 250 staff worldwide. In Wellington and Auckland, more in Japan, China, two in Chicago. And Steve joins me now. What was the gap you saw?
Well, I don't think I actually saw a gap. I when I wanted to get out of food, right, and I didn't really want to deal with chefs anymore. So so I thought I'd just concentrate on coffee, and I wanted to just roast coffee and wholesale it. And it was a really difficult market to break into because the other guys in Wellington were doing a really good job, right? So we just opened a second shop, and they went well, and then opened a third, and went, oh, why don't we just create our own market and keep on opening shops, really?
Because the
Yeah.
difficult thing with Wellington at the time, there was one, I mean, there was lots of little niche brands, but there was one big one, which was Lafare, which everyone was having
Mm.
to go up against. How do you plan a strategy when you know there's something or someone with a big brand like that and you want to get in?
Uh, I think you just got to be different. And over here in Chicago, it's the same thing. There's some very big brands and some very big companies, and differentiating yourself from them is really, really important because they do good coffee, we do good coffee, they do good service, we do good service. So you got to do everything you can to sort of set yourself apart, really. And that stuff we did naturally. We didn't. Back then, there wasn't a lot of strategy around what we're doing. A lot of it happened by accident, and I think a lot of business does happen that way.
In
Yeah.
terms then, do you think maybe it's the brand Mojo because it's an amazingly good name and you know you're in a Mojo when you walk in?
Yeah. Mojo is a brand. It is a great brand name to have. It works really well in any market, um, but it's not the only thing that's the brand. So, like you just said, when you walk into a Mojo, you're in a Mojo, and that comes down to everything: the way you're greeted as you walk in the cafe, the look and feel. Even though every shop is completely individual and the fit out's different, but you just know you're a Mojo. The high quality of materials that we use, the design, the music you're listening to, the smell, the noise, the buzz, everything just lets you know that hey, you're a Mojo. Um, yeah. So, obviously here in Chicago, we've got, and obviously you probably want to get to this later, but, um, you know, New Zealanders that go to our shops in Wellington and Auckland walk into our store in Chicago and go, oh, just feels like Mojo. It just feels like home. Yeah. So
But
so
unfortunately,
many of these tiny, tiny little elements actually make up the brand. It's not just a logo that's on the window that does it.
but Chicagoans don't know the brand, so how do you convince them to come in?
Um, it, it took a while. It took a while, but and they're getting there. And we've got two stores, um, and they're busy, and they're busy because we just do what we do in New Zealand, and just what we do in New Zealand and doing it really well differentiates us from everyone else in the market here. Um, yeah.
So, in terms then of, do you get approaches now because you're so busy in Chicago from people saying, I want to open up, I want to have one of your stores?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So, how do you decide who gets
It's
one and
crazy.
who doesn't?
Well, thing is, I mean, our company are all company-owned stores, right? So we're not franchises. So we just it's not so easy that you just go, oh, you're here, take a franchise and go and open in Colorado and go for it, right? Um, for us, it's if we're going to open up in Colorado, then we've got to think who's going to go there, who's going to drive the business, how are we going to support that person, who's going to fund it, or how are we going to fund it. There's a lot more to it than just selling franchises.
Well, why aren't you franchising
Um,
it then?
well, it's a decision that we made, the conscious decision we made, basically as we started to grow and got bigger, and we wanted to make sure that we had full control over everything we did. Um, and you can do that in a franchise, but not to the same level as what we can. And um, and the buy-in that we have from our staff and our business partners that have been part of the company for like 15 years and stuff is a lot stronger, a lot deeper than if they were a franchise.
How difficult is it then to fund expansion?
It's not easy. It's become a lot easier as we've got bigger and the company is a lot more successful, and the bank has confidence in what we're doing and our ability. That helps. And then obviously, if you want to get bigger and bigger, then you look at bringing on partners, which we've done, and we've brought in recently we've got a new investment group that came into the company, and they bring capital with them so that we can roll out more stores a lot faster and stuff. We can grow organically like we did in Wellington, but that took us 15, 16 years to get to where we are now. And in the US, we want to get a lot bigger than that, a lot faster. And yeah, capital is one of those things that kind of helps you do that.
So it's equity partnership at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. But equity, and these guys come with a bit more nous as well and help you. I left school at 16, and there's a lot of that business part of growth, of international growth, that I don't know. But having the right partners on board help you along in that route. So yeah.
Is that the big learning that you had from all those years ago when there was just you, without, as you say, the business experience, although you'd been in restaurants? Did it all of a sudden take off when you brought more experience in, or was it organic for you that you learnt more as you went, and then it got to the point of expansion to bring others in?
That is probably the biggest question I think I've ever been asked. It's not having a business degree behind me means that sometimes you make more mistakes, but because you don't have the blinkers on, there's nothing holding you back either. So I think when you don't really know what you should know, you just go off and do things, and when they come off, they're huge. Yes, you make some mistakes, and you just obviously got to remember not to make those mistakes. Bringing partners on, you can bring business partners on who think they know what your business needs and what you are and stuff, but can also suffocate what you're doing as a business. And we've experienced that as well. So I've had the good and the bad and the ugly with business partners. Yeah. So for small New Zealand businesses wanting to go bigger and wanting to go international, getting capital isn't the key.
It's the people.
It's the people. Getting money in the world at the moment, especially in the US, is super easy, right? Getting that capital is just, people are throwing money at you. Getting the right partner is the key, and getting the partners that believe in you, your ability, and the brand, and also want to be part of what you are and want to be part of what your brand is, because a lot of that equity, a lot of that private equity money, they've got no interest in you. They've got absolutely no interest in your business, right?
They just want to make money.
Their business is the transaction between buying into your company and getting out of your company. That's their business. What happens in between, they don't care.
As long as they're making a profit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and they'll tell you everything else but that.
Would Americans know a good cup of coffee if they fell on one?
Yes. Yeah, they do when they come into our shop, that's for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, are you educating them?
Yeah, absolutely. But there's really good coffee in the US, and if you know where to go, I would say the sharpening of the stick is sharper than in New Zealand, right? And that's just because we're in a big population. So, our coffee geeks at home are real geeky, but the coffee geeks here, and say in big markets like Japan and China and in Europe, are super, super, super geeky, right? So the high end stuff is really, really good. It's just so far and few between, right? So you got to know where to go. What we're educating them on is the New Zealand coffee experience. Now that's quite a different thing, right? So you've got to have a great product, right, which is our coffee. But in and in the US, in the Chicago, you have service and coffee shops and service and restaurants, and they're two different things, right? I've never had a bad experience in a restaurant in the US ever. I'm always blown away with the level of service. I've had almost no good experiences with service in coffee shops in the US, right? So, and we're as a brand, the New Zealand coffee style, and how we serve customers and our approach to business, and then being in a shop and treating them like they're guests in our house and that kind of stuff, just doesn't happen here. So we just do what we do in New Zealand, and it works really well. And people are like, "Oh wow, this is nice. Oh my gosh, you brought my coffee to my table. Oh, what's this? Oh, that's water.
Do you get big
So
tips?
thank you very much." Yeah, the guys get good tips in the business, in the shop, and yeah, they do pretty well. Yeah. We bring a food element too. Like in New Zealand, all our cafes have quite a lot of food. And you can have breakfast, you can have lunch and stuff, and that's quite a New Zealand thing, and an Australian thing, where coffee shops in the US are basically just coffee, a few biscuits, and maybe a couple of pastries, and that's it. So that food element puts our average sale up, and we're busier because of that, and people are coming back 2, 3, 4, 5 times a day instead of just once a day. So the average tip per hour for our staff is actually a lot higher than if they were just in a normal coffee shop.
So you're in America at the moment. What's the difference between America, New Zealand, Japan and China, those two in particular? Is there anything that you have to do different for those two countries?
We do, in Japan, we do exactly what we do in New Zealand. In China, we do exactly what we do in New Zealand. And in the US, we do exactly what we do in New Zealand. The only difference, the difference out of the 4 nations is the US, and that is we sell a lot of filter coffee compared to espresso. So you go to one of our shops in Wellington, and 99% of the coffees we sell is espresso, long black, flat white, right, or a latte.
I don't think I've ever seen a filter coffee in one of your Mojos.
Yeah, or we do a pour over coffee or a thing with a machine called a steam pump, which is just stunning coffee. But here in the US, 50% of what we sell is filter coffee.
Wow.
And we have a bigger cup for that filter coffee as well. We go up to a 16 ounce, where our largest coffees in New Zealand are 12 ounce, and I'm comfortable doing the 16 ounce filter coffee because, with a milky coffee, if you're selling a flat white and then you add on another 10 ounces, right, you're just diluting it, and it's just a completely different product, and it's not very good and stuff. But when you've got good filter coffee, it doesn't matter if it's 10, 12, 14, 16, or 20 ounces. It's still the same product. It's still the same experience, but just a lot more of it. And it's quite nice just going, here you go.
Yeah.
It's like, here you go. There you go. Here you go. Take the money.
Now, I don't know whether you're going to answer these questions, but are you going to tell me the financial turnover of the group?
No.
Are you the largest shareholder?
Currently, yes.
Are you going to remain?
Not the largest, no. No. Not if we're going to grow like we want to grow, then obviously a lot of capital will come into the business, and I'll get diluted. I'll be the second biggest shareholder for.
Have you had any offers for anyone to buy you out?
Oh, we did last year.
From a big name?
Oh no, we had a PE firm involved in the business last year, and they wanted to buy us out, and that failed. And then we had another group, we had the Cooks Group come in and try to buy the New Zealand business, and then partner up with me in the US and stuff. But that failed too. And then these guys, LJ Partnership, they came in and they bought the old PE firm out, and they've got 35% stake in the business as it is now, and with some pretty big ambitious plans for us to go a lot bigger and quicker.
What's your exit strategy?
Greek islands. That's not my strategy. That's my location. Um, it's I don't actually have one, and most you know sort of traditional corporates or entrepreneurs will say, well, you've got to have an exit strategy, and you know I absolutely love what I do, right? And we're in a massive, big adventure here as a family and stuff, and we just want to keep growing the business. And if an event happens in the future, what's really important is that we're growing a really good, profitable, sustainable company that's super strong. I've always said that you should build a business that you can leave your kids. And now, if you go into that business with that mindset, you're going to grow a really good, strong business, and then it's going to be worth more. So when the time is right, you know, something good will happen. But I don't, I don't actually have a strategic exit strategy as it is.
Is Wellington still home?
Always.
Nice to catch up with you again.
You too, Grant.